Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniatures. It's Friday once more, which means we bring to you yet another obscurity in literature. Now, this book is getting a bit old and long in the tooth, but I still think it's quite a cool one, and that is the Shoji Kawamori Macross Design Works. So this book is a little bit of a departure from the usual art books, which are all full of slick, nice looking, finished production shots, but that's actually not what this is. So for all you mecha fans out there, this is a really cool book because it's really getting into the nitty-gritty design of how Kawamori came up with all of his Macross, or Robotech, if you will, designs. So if you're not familiar with Shoji Kawamori and you've never seen one of these robots before, he is kind of a big deal in terms of giant robot innovation and evolution on both the anime scene and the toy scene. He was responsible not only for all the designs of the Valkyries or Veritechs, if you want to call them that, but also a lot of the early Transformers that got their starts in Takara's Diaclone line of toys were also designed by Kawamori. And he's done, tons and tons of stuff since this. And I think to this day, he's still designed all of the Macross mechs, or at least the transformable ones. So it's definitely an interesting book to take a look at. Now, it was published, I want to say 2001, if I remember correctly. I'm like 99% sure because I looked at it earlier today. So this is before like Macross Frontier. This is post 7 at least, but there is a bit on game only Valkyries. So this is interesting. I want to say some of these were pre-Macross designs before they had actually come up. There was like something called the Knights. Oh god, I remember. I know Sparkle Chat will tell me what it is. But just seeing some of the other jet designs is kind of cool here. Some of the combining Gatai style ones. I don't know if that's something that ever actually made it in. And these are looking like Macross 7 ships, if I remember. Excalibur at least is ringing a bell. Now, I will admit I never watched 7. As we started to go down the road with the more and more of the bands and idol stuff, it just kind of lost the appeal to me. I was a fan of the original show. Of course, I think I was a bigger fan of Most Peata, or whatever it's called, with the dudes on motorcycle armors. I always thought that was really cool. Some of the various head designs. Yeah, that's definitely 7. So, a lot of this stuff you can actually find online. I'm sure probably a good chunk of this book you can find online. Some neat stuff that I don't recognize, but this is where it starts to get kind of cool. Is we have a lot of the line art, but more interestingly, we start getting into some of the early designs. I don't know if Kawamori designed the power armor for the Starship Troopers OVAs that Sunrise did, but these look mighty similar. Of course, some of it's a bit Dorvac looking, not Dorvac, Diaclone looking as well. Breast Fighter and Breast Solderer. I don't know, but this is when it starts to get cool, as you start to see how Kawamori kind of designed the actual transformation sequences for these things to turn into. And I love this early competition. I think it's supposed to be like the conception type art. This is 81. And this, I think, is when it starts to really get cool. You can see his early line work for the Valkyries. And while there are little bits of text here and there, I'd say this is a very import-friendly book. Of course, it is 20-something years old at the time that I am showing this, so it might not be the easiest one to track down. Early designs on the guns and how they pop open. As we start seeing the moving models out of the way, that I've got to clean this table off better before I start filming giant books. You can see how the evolution of the mecha mode begins. We get into the nice finished designs. I know Kawamori did the Aquarian designs. Escaflowne, if I remember correctly. Gerwalk modes. If you were a kid of the 80s, you probably had some of these. I had all kinds of funky Gerwalk toys. They always fall apart, too. I had so many knockoff bootleg Valkyries. Of course, I did have the big, giant Jetfire as a kid. One of my favorites until the other brother that lives in Japan still broke the arm off it. That was not cool. It was based on the Bandai Takatoku, whatever. And here you can see some of the early how the armor for the Valkyries was going to work. Armored Batroid. This is always a nostalgic design to me, and I remember I had the Garbage Pail Kids stickers all over my stuff. Those were coveted. Coveted, I say. Get into some of the other designs of the Valkyries. The ostrich. I don't remember the ostrich, but that's okay. The Eland Seeker, I remember you. This was like the rarest of the original Valkyrie toys, if I remember correctly, with this little radar dome there. Not that I ever saw one in person, and growing up and getting into the toy collecting scene, not that I could afford any of those. Probably could now, but I have no interest. So, the interiors of the Regolts. That's pretty cool. Now, this is what's really interesting to me, is his early concept art for it. Really rough pencils. Very cool to see. Glaugs. All you Battletech fans, I'm sure you remember those as well. I certainly do. I used to have one. One of the very few Battletech figures that I painted. Little fighter pods. We get into some of the early game stuff. Again, really nice, rough sketch work here. Zoom it out a bit so you can get a better look at some of the stuff. And I mean, I guess that's one of the real nice things about having a book like this, is if you just want some inspiration or see how these people come up with their ideas. To me, that's the best part. Yeah, it's cool looking at all the finished designs, but I mean, I want to see that early stuff. Like, how are they coming up with those leg models? Some hardcore plane schematics there. The Cutlass. I mean, I don't even remember what some of these are from. That's okay, though. Looking into some of the weirder stuff. Deform type. I believe somebody made those. I know they made those. I remember seeing those. Ooh, we're into Stampede Valkyries. I don't remember which game that's from. Looks cool. Is it Macross Plus? VFX Plus or something? This is Plus, isn't it? Yeah. Share an apple. Again, it's fun to look at all of the design concepts of how he's come up with this stuff. Somebody who at least had some interest. Now, 7 was always weird. I couldn't get into it. The models at the time, not all that great. The toys were very plastic. Didn't really care for that. I do like when they had their sound boosters on. They looked way cooler. The big guns. Sound cannons, I guess. I always found it weird how all of the Valkyries at this point had the faces and much more human looking. The sound boosters. What is it they fight in 7? The Devlin or the Proto-Devlin? Something like that. Those look neat. But then again, you guys know by now, I'm a sucker for big giant monsters. So, that looks cool. The full armor mode. So yeah, there's just tons. If you're into that, and I know some of you out there are, there is a lot of interesting stuff. I'm kind of curious, actually, if they've gone back and redone any of these books. It's not like one of the bad guy ones. I think it was. It looks like a bad guy one. Koenig monster. I swear one of these they have. Yes. The transformable Koenig. That's its Gearwalk mode. Where's the destroyed mode? There we go. Looking like a giant Tau suit, isn't it? And then we've got pages of its design and how it works. Vampire. Neo Glaugs. I think it's VFX too. And then in the back to cap it all off, we've got an interview with Kawamori himself. So, fun little book, if you want to call it little. And definitely, I think if you grew up with Macross and if you're a big fan of the mecha and their art, then it's definitely worth taking a look at. Hopefully, something to inspire all of you mecha heads, because I want more anime-style robots to play around with on the tabletop. Somebody out there must share my dream, and hopefully we'll see it come to fruition someday. So yeah, with that said, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye.